This conference
So
will now be recorded.
give me 1 second, and we're gonna get to it. Okay. All right. So once again, good morning to you, everyone. I'm really glad that you guys are on the call. Um, hopefully you can hear me okay. I was give me 1 second here, actually, before we actually dive into this. Let's see here. Let's see. Dr. B, can you hear me?
And clear.
All right. Awesome. So like I said, it's we missed last week, and because of the holiday, which was a good thing. I hope everybody had a good little 3 days last weekend, and then this weekend I hope you had a good weekend as well. I'm really excited, actually, because I will tell you guys that I've had some things come up for me, which means it is a positive for you all right? The things that happen that come my direction, they work for you guys, because then I take that information and I'll kind of distill it down, and without giving you all the fluff, and then give it to you guys. So for those of you all who are actually on online, so you can see everything on the computer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you there's this program. So first, let me start off by saying there's a guy who I've been following for the last, I don't know, 20 years maybe, and I buy his stuff periodically, and his name is Frank Kern, and Frank Kern is a big time marketing guy, and he sells a lot of stuff for a lot of money, and he's one of these guys that makes $1 million or $2 million or so per month in his marketing businesses. A lot of it is doing copywriting. He's known as a copywriter. So he writes the ad space basically for other marketers. He also is known for setting up what's referred to as marketing funnels that are very successful. So you guys can look him up on your own, Frank Kern, Kern. And so he's had a lot of programs. A couple of them I've bought, as my money has allowed me to. But his programs, they often range in the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 range. Primarily in the $2,000 to $3,000 range, like $2,000, $2,500, that kind of thing. And then I'll have other programs where it's like $300 a month for forever type of thing. So I got an email from him, which I'm sure he sent that same email out to the other 250,000 people on his email list. Somebody's making a lot of noise, and it's irritating. So mute yourself, please. So the deal is that he sent out an email. He was basically saying, "Hey, look, I have all my older programs, which I still believe they're golden, right? I have all my older programs." So he has a program called Mass Control, which back in the day was a $2,000 program. Information Blueprint, that's another program. Client Acquisition is another program. Subconscious Selling is another program. Alchemy is another program. High Level Fellowship is another program. Basically, where you learn how to create a tribe, if you will. And anyways, it just goes on and on and on. Ultimate Webinar Blueprint, because we all know webinars are important in this day and age. If you're creating a business, especially a service business, And then he has one called Video Black Box, List Control. List Control was actually one of his biggies. That was really, really big. And the list goes on and on and on, right? So basically, this is, it totals up, according to their math, not mine, to $53,000 worth of material. And I'm able to buy it from them, right? So buy all this stuff, granted, it's not like, like new, brand new. It's not like his latest stuff, but a lot of stuff, marketing changes regularly. But there are key ingredients that remain the same. And some of the stuff is like maybe a year old of marketing. Some of the stuff works the same regardless. So what I have come to the conclusion is that I'm going to go through this stuff, hopefully with the help of a couple of my teammates, and go through this stuff and start kind of just really like going deep into it and pulling out all the nuggets, all the golden nuggets, if you will, and then subsequently it'll give us, right? So the Power Monday Mastermind community more to work with, because it's important, right? So we know that information is the key to our salvation, if you will. Information, knowing more than what we know, because we're ignorant in certain ways. I am ignorant in certain ways. It doesn't mean I'm a stupid person, but I am ignorant to certain things, right? And so the only way we can become less ignorant, if you will, is by learning what we don't know. So I'm going to give you guys an example in just a minute. But so this program it's going to cost me like $1,000, and I think it's worth it. I think it's more than worth it, because if we don't invest in ourselves, then you're going to get nothing, right? If you don't invest in yourself, then you don't. How do you know how to take the next steps? Obviously, we can just run in a specific direction and do wonderfully, right? Do fantastic. But we can lessen our learning curve if we have the information necessary to make our journey easier. So we can run in a direction, obviously. I've done it myself numerous times, and I've had levels of success doing that. But what I believe to be true, from personal experience and from just seeing it around me, is that when you have the knowledge base and you're running in a specific direction, it is so much easier for you to get from where you're at to where you want to be so much faster, right? Because once again, we cut out a lot of the extra bullshit. We cut out a lot of the hurdles that we normally would have to go through by having the knowledge base. And so I'm going to give you a quick example of that once again in a hot second. And then there's also something I want to tell you guys. I've been running my big mouth about doing these podcasts, and I'm definitely going to do the podcast. But let me tell you that I waited to the last minute, right? So I said, 9/1, baby, 9/1. I'm going to start my podcast. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Yada, yada, yada. Just running my big mouth without having really done the research. And so once I started doing the research right before the beginning of this month, I came to realize that, my dumb ass was just, foolish to think that I could create a podcast and have it be successful without having the necessary information and tools to make it, happen. And so I've had, friends go, oh, well, you know what? It shouldn't be that hard, man. All you have to do is listen to this. This person tells you how to do it. This person tells you how to do it. And so you listen to these little videos and you find out, okay, that's great. They're wonderful. Yeah, true enough, I can go and set up with iTunes or this or that, but the truth of the matter is that's only a part of it. That is a very, very small part of it because anybody can go and set up with Google Play, iTunes, this one, that one, and so on and so forth, Anybody can go and set up with those. But, it's more than that, right? You want to actually find a really good place that will distribute your podcast for you, someplace that allows you to put it in once, okay? Someplace like Lipson, which I've never heard of before, which is really big in the podcast thing, and another place called Buzzsprout, and never heard of it before either, right? But see, I didn't know those things. I just was running off at the mouth, didn't have the level of knowledge that I needed in the specific arena. And now, once I delved into it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, to be successful, you actually have to have, this set up before you go and set up in Spotify, before you go set up in Google Podcasts, before you go set up in Apple Podcasts, before you go set up in iTunes, before you go set up in this one, Stitcher, and all the other ones. You need to have this one basis or this one place set up as your hub, then your other places set up, and that way it distributes everywhere. And then more than that is it's also there's an advertisement component to it, because once you're listed in the directories, okay, you're there, all right? It's like having a YouTube video. There's let's just say 1 billion or 2 billion YouTube videos. How are you going to be found out of the 1 billion or 2 billion YouTube videos, right? You have to know more than just, oh, I know how to go place my podcast in this directory like iTunes. So it starts to get, okay, so now I need to place it in business or in this specific area. I need to place it. I need to market it over here. I need, because there's literally hundreds of thousands, if not tens of millions of podcasts. And how do you get out of the I don't know what to say. Muck and mire comes to my mind, but how do you get out of the basement, basically, right? And be seen, be heard, if you will. How do you go from level A to level B, right? So I have some of the tricks that you can do on YouTube to make that happen, but I don't know all the tricks. So there's another person I've been following for quite some time. His name is Pat Flynn, and he's like he's one of these people. He's here in Orange County, California, with me, and he's a guy. I saw him in his start, right? I started following him because of another person I follow named Kim Roach, who is a brilliant marketer, and then she turned me on to Pat Flynn. And this guy went from being an engineer or something like that, got laid off, and then he became a marketer, and then he moved in as part of his marketing into doing podcasting. And so he's really big in the podcasting world. And so another investment that I am making in myself, which is going to benefit you all, is I'm going to spend the $700 or whatever it is to buy Pat Flynn's course, as well as buying the Frank Kern stuff. I've already invested in the Frank Kern stuff, so I got to get my little ducks in a row, and then I'll subsequently buy the Pat Flynn information, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to learn it, distill it down, and then share the jewels or the nuggets that I get from that with you all, right? So with the with our team, with our tribe, with our community, because I think that's important. So I am going to obviously, I'm going to ask Joy if she'll, help dive into this stuff, and a couple of other people I can think of that I'm going to have to ask them to help me dive into this, because the truth of the matter is I have a busy life just like everybody else, and it would take me a much longer period of time to do it by myself. So if, as a grouping, right, if I can have Joy and a couple of other people help me out, go through the stuff in a reasonable period of time, and then distill it down, pull out the jewels, the things that make whatever specific program that I've purchased work, then that's it. Because we don't want a bunch of fluff, right? We don't want a bunch of ancillary BS. We want the real of the real, if you will. We want to make sure that we're talking about, that we're utilizing the stuff, the information that's going to get us to, from point A to point B, and then from point B to point C, and so forth. That's what our objective is and is going to be with all the stuff that I'm buying. So that's, the Pat Flynn course I have not bought yet. The Frank Kern, the $53,000 worth of information or past programs of Frank Kern's that I was able to subsequently purchase for $1,000, in his little program for people on his list. I think is more than worth it, and I think is worth it for myself and for the tribe, for the Power Monday Mastermind tribe. So I want you all to understand that I'm doing this obviously for myself, for Pascal Dominique Mansell. I'm doing it for me. But I am also doing it for you. I'm making these expenditures for you as well. And together we can all grow, right? Together we can all, go from where we're at to where we want to be. So let me give you guys an example. I'm going to kind of step away from that. So I mentioned the Frank Kern stuff, which I'm really excited about, because some of these programs I wanted to buy, but I couldn't, bring myself to spend, that amount of money, the $2,000 or $3,000 on one of these programs. So I bought some of his less expensive stuff. But I think I bought one of his $2,000 or maybe two of his $2,000 programs back in the day. But to buy all of them, because they come out, like fairly regularly. So to buy all of them was kind of like, I'm good. So the Pat Flynn, I like Pat Flynn. I don't know him personally, but he, in all of his dealings, seems to be a very honest person. And one of the things I like about Pat Flynn, and I'm going to tell you all to look him up. And so you can find him at patflynn.com, I believe, which is FY, obviously Pat, and then, so PATFLYNN. One of the things that he does, and there's only a couple of marketers that do this, is this cat will list out every month his entire income, where he made it, and exactly what his expenses were as well. I mean, how awesome is that? I'm so impressed by people that do that. There's Pat Flynn that does it. There's a guy who is from he calls himself Minnesota Mike or something like that, but he lives overseas with his wife. He does that very same thing, where he literally lists out every single dollar that they're generating and exactly what part of their business it comes from. And then he lists out, he'll tell you, in my podcast business, I'm getting, $10,000 a month from these different advertisers. I'm getting this, I'm getting that. I've sold this many books. I've done this. So what that does, and the reason I think that's so awesome, is because it gives you like a very open picture of where you can be making money as well. If you're, a marketer or someone selling services or products, right? It literally gives you the opportunity to look at someone else's, let's say their books, kind of, sort of, and see exactly where and how they're making their money. It's pretty awesome, and very few people who do that. So there's Pat Flynn that I know that does that. Is that the guy that I was talking about, Minnesota Mike or whatever he's called, and then there's a cooking, a recipe website that does the very same thing as well. And it's just the people that do that amaze me, and it's actually something I aspire to do in the future. So I just wanted to get that over to you guys. So getting back to something that I kept on saying, I'm going to re-mention. So I have a new client, and let's just call him, I don't know, we'll call him Roy for just, throwing out a name. So Roy is part of our $30,000 to $300,000 business, personal, and corporate credit and business development program, right? And so very smart man, as he and his partner, very smart, very, very smart people. And one of the things that I was trying to get across to him that he's actually catching very, very rapidly, because like I said, he's a very smart man, is the same thing I'm trying to get across to you all in these calls. We are literally just steps away from being able to accomplish whatever in the hell it is that we want to accomplish, right? So with him, he has a couple of different things going on. So within our program, obviously, we'll set up a corporation for him for free, right? Because he's paying us $5,000, $6,000, whatever it is, and so we obviously will set up his corporation for free. And then not just set it up, but show him exactly the steps that we do to set up his corporation and the company we use, which everybody on this call already knows the company we use to get our corporate kits from and anything else we need, right? I've given out that name most of the time, so have that if you're already on this call. And so, but long story short is that so he was like, well, hey man, I want to learn this stuff, and just in a very, a few weeks, right? So he went out, he got his corporation, he got his corporate kit back, and as I was explaining to him, with her credit, his partner's credit, and with his own credit, it's really not hard to raise money. But when you're not sure about something, you're very skeptical, right? You're like, I don't know, man. I don't know how this is going to work, so on and so forth. Well, he got his corporation, so last week, everything was completed. He got his corporate kit, got his tax ID number. Obviously, over a phone call, I walked him through how to set up the tax ID number. Because you want to set it up properly. You can set it up, but you can set it up the right way as well. So, and then he went to the bank, and he, just simply did what I explained to him to do, and they were able to get a quick $12,500 in credit cards, and so he was like, "Oh, dude, that was simple," and I was like, "Dude, that's the point." It's ridiculously simple, right? So for him to get that $12,500, and it's in business lines of credit cards. So the magic of that is that it's not going to report to their personal credit file. Now keep in mind, Capital One, right? The Capital One Spark for Business, they do report to your personal credit file. Who knows why? But as a rule of thumb, most business line of credit cards or business lines of credit, the inquiry is going to show up, but the actual debt, is not going to report to your personal credit file unless you let it go back. All right. So the point of this is that in a very short period of time, because of the lessons learned, right, he was able to go and do this thing, get this 12, and I'm believing that between the two of them raising $100,000 because their credit is good, it's not like fantastic, but it's good. They should be able to raise $100,000 without any issue. That is my belief. And it's not hard. That's the point. You guys have to understand. It is not hard. That's why I want you guys to If your credit is a little shaky, I've given out places where you can go and start rebuilding your credit. I mean, the usual suspects, right? If you're renting, why aren't you reporting to Rental Karma? Get that on your credit file, right? There's Rent Tracks, Rental Karma. There's multiple ones now. Rental Karma, they only report to the one place, possibly two now. I don't know, because I don't really keep up with that. Joy does. But the point is that, there's multiple places that will report your rent to the credit bureaus on your behalf. And with places like Rental Karma, you can utilize that as a primary, but more importantly, they'll backdate it 2 years for you, so you'll have 2 years of history showing up on your credit file. You see the power of that? If you're renting, you need to have that going on your credit file. The other thing, I was having a discussion with some young ladies the other day, this past Friday, I should say, and they were like, well, you were telling us to do this, to sign up with Experian credit monitoring and then do Experian Boost, and but we've heard someone say that, it doesn't really do much for you. It doesn't really, you don't get a whole lot of points. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? Are you what is wrong with you? If it gave you an extra 10 or 20 positive points, if your credit is crappy, then you can get an extra 10 to 20 points added to your credit file for free. FREE. Why wouldn't you take it? People, we, all of us, we listen to people that don't know shit. Right? Now I don't know everything, and I admit to that readily. I do not know everything, but I do have very specific skill sets. And all I say is, listen to people that can help you, get over those short-term hurdles, right? That you're trying to, in the direction that you're trying to go in, that have that specific knowledge base. So I'm not an expert marketer, obviously, right? So I need to go and buy that information. I need to bring that information into myself so that I can lessen my hurdles, ease my journey, if you will, right? But in exit out, all those people that don't have, like, they're not marketers either, but you're going to listen to them about marketing, or people with credit as bad as yours, and you're going to listen to them about how to repair your credit, or some broke-ass person who has zero in their bank account, and they're out there working, busting their ass, just like you or worse than you, right? But you're going to take advice from them. We need to stop doing that, y'all. We need to start investing in ourselves, rebuilding ourselves from, by pulling from the wells of information that have true value to them. It's not like rocket science. None of this shit is rocket science. It is very, very simple. Do I want to give Frank Kern $1,000? Hell no. But I know something. Frank Kern makes millions of dollars a year, both in selling his products, but more importantly, it's not more importantly, because obviously he's doing extremely well selling his products, right? So he knows something that I don't know. And so therefore I'm going to buy from someone that has proven that their information base, that their well of knowledge is far greater than mine. So yes, now I don't want to give this man my $1,000, right? But I'm doing it because you got to pull from the wells of information that can get you from where you're at to where you want to go. And it goes for every aspect of our existence, y'all. For every aspect of our existence, we have to start, rethinking and rebuilding ourselves. I told you all that well, not all of you, but some of you that I have more conversation with, that I am going to, my objective is to be on stages in January or at least starting that process of being on stage, doing the lecture circuit and all this other stuff that I feel and I believe that I need to look and appear a certain way. And so for me, that means I want to be physically fit, as well as mentally fit. And so I'm out every day, at least Monday through Friday, jogging from tree to tree, from tree to tree, from tree to tree, right? But also with that, I'm fortunate that I have my wife with me who, ran the LA Marathon, right? So, even though I don't like it, admittedly, I don't know why. It's just like a man thing, I guess. I think for my wife telling me stuff. I don't know what that's about, but it's ignorant, I know. But it's just, because I don't know, It's just who I am. I'm just like a big chauvinist asshole at times. But that's Pascal. I'm working on it, but that is who I am. And so, but my wife, the fact that I was able to see her to go from not being able to run a mile to being able to run a mile, then to being able to run 2 miles, and then to being able to run 4 miles, and being able to run, 26 miles when she ran the LA Marathon. I have to, even though, I'm that chauvinistic guy, I have to, listen, even though I act like I know sometimes, listen to what she's telling me so that I can get over myself, so I can get past my hurdles, right? So I can get beyond, beyond myself, as we used to talk about, and we still do, but getting out of my own way, right? So I need her information, her coaching, her training to get out of my own way. Does that make sense to you guys? I mean, it's imperative. We have to start rebuilding ourselves. We have to right here, right now, make a commitment, not to somebody else, but to you, saying that I'm going to do whatever the hell it is that you want to do, that you're going to make a commitment to yourself to revamp, rebuild, you. And it's imperative, because the only way that we're going to be successful in our lives, right? So personally, right, is that we need to change all the screwed up crap about us. Like I am working on my screwed up crap, right? It's imperative. The only way that we're going to be killing it in the financial business arena, or, in business or in finance and whatever the hell it is that you want to do, is by revamping and rebuilding you, changing you from who you are at this particular time to slowly becoming someone else. I mean, you're obviously gonna, this is how I want you to envision it. I mentioned this before in another call, and I'm going to mention it again and again and again and again and again. We need to create our 2.0 version of ourselves. And when we get to that 2.0 version of ourselves, then we need to create the 3.0 and the 4.0 and the 5.0 and so on and so forth. And then it's imperative that we do this, you guys. It is imperative. We have to start, learning from people that know more than us. We have to start doing those things that we know we have to do. So I'm gonna bring up Dr. Barber. I'm gonna tell you something. We started this thing, and for those of you who did it for a short period of time, where we're journaling, right? And you guys, those who did what they're supposed to, I sent you the $75 that I promised I was going to send you, right? There's no one that did what they're supposed to and sent me their information did not get their $75. And my thing was that was a starting point for you. I was paying you to start for yourself. I was paying you. I don't even know you people, but I was paying you as a way of me giving back or giving out to you to help you start your process. Right? Now I'm willing to bet the vast majority of you are no longer journaling. And I'm going to have to tell you the honest truth. My journaling, I'm doing it, but Dr. Barbara is keeping me honest, because when our little 7-day journal was over, she was like, hey, Pascal, you and I are making a pact. I mean, she wasn't taking no for an answer. She's telling me what we're going to do, right? And I was like, okay, sister, shoot, okay. And she's like, you and I are going to make a pact, and we're going to keep on sending our journals to each other, our daily pages to each other. Which is, and I had to text her the other day. I was like, you know what, you're keeping me on track for sure. You know, you're keeping me honest, is what I said. You know, like, wow, okay, because she is doing her thing. She's doing her thud thizzle. That's what I like to say, thud thizzle. But she's doing her thing, and it's just like, okay. It's keeping me honest. It's making me do my thing. It's making me journal, you know? And then like a buddy of mine, Mark, was saying the other day, he said, man, success comes from your journaling. You got to see, you know, and be able to look back to where you were at, what you were doing, how you were doing it, to know what's working for you and what's not, what your progress is, and how you're progressing, right? So it is important. But I'm, you know, in some places in my being, I'm a little lazy. So that means I have to place more emphasis on journaling, right? To keep me honest and to keep Dr. Barbara from talking mess to me about how I'm not living up to what I promised. So yeah, all this stuff goes together, you guys. All of this stuff goes together. Right, so the changing yourself, right, becoming a completely different person. If the person you are now sucks, then you need to change, right? If the person you are now is lazy as hell, then you need to change. If the person you are is broke and you're unhappy, you need to change, right? No one else can do it for you, right? So like the $75 I gave away to the various individuals that journaled for that 7-day period of 5 or 7-day period of time. I don't remember now. I think it was 7 days. You know, you did it for a reason, and the reason in truth was very tiny. It was a $75 reason that you chose to write down some, you know, what your goals were in the book for $75. So now let's think about this. Let's think, what if you can create $75,000 or $75 million or whatever it is your figure is or whatever it is the hell you want, right? Because you did it for $75. So why won't you do it for yourself for more? This is it. You know, I mean, look, I'm buying this program, y'all. I bought the Frank Kern stuff because of what? Because it's going to help me get past. Right? It's going to help me get past those extra journeys, the extra bullcrap, you know, that I have to deal with. And it will do the same thing for you. You got to invest in yourself, period. You got to invest in yourself. That's really what this is all about. Whether, and it doesn't have to necessarily be, you know, financial investments, but you got to invest in yourself somehow, some way. You got to create this brand new you somehow, some way. What is it going to be, right? So you got to start. Anybody have anything to say? Anybody? All right. See, you guys, you're so funny to me. You literally are just, you know, I understand. I get it. A lot of you at work. I get the text messages and the chat messages. You know, indicating that you guys are at work. I understand that. But, you know, it's important that you guys, we, you know, always keep in mind that for us to move forward, for us to get and be better, we have to change. We have to create, you know, turn whoever we are into that better us. And once we reach that specific spot or goal, then we need to even improve ourselves from that point forward. And then it's just an ongoing, continuous thing. And so you know, getting money, is it hard? Just like getting back to the client Roy, he thought it was, until he learned that it wasn't. Now he's excited. He's on fire, and they're gonna go and apply for more places and get more monies into their door. So it was because he chose to improve and change his scenario and reached out for specialized information in a specific arena. He is now changing his destiny in that space. And overall, it'll obviously have effect in his overall life. Because he didn't know that, you're telling me I can go get, in his particular case, on his first run, $12,500, that's not going to report to my personal credit file? Oh, you know what I mean? He wasn't aware of that. He was aware that he can go out and get credit cards in his name, and obviously, have that on his credit file. They're only going to give him so much, but he was not aware of the other side. You guys have this information freely. So, anybody have anything to say?
Yes, Pascal, it's Dr. Barkley.
Hey, Dr. B, go ahead.
I was going to say the reason why I had to keep going forward is because there's a spiritual law of money. So
You're kind of breaking up, Dr. B.
Can you hear me now?
You're not clear. I can hear you, but it's not clear. It's very low.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
I think it was like really good. Now it's like okay, but go ahead. Let's keep it going.
Okay, let me know when you can't hear me.
Oh, perfect. Perfection.
I was talking about there's a spiritual law of money. And the thing about the spiritual law of money, the funds that you gave is set up like a seed. So you sowed a seed into all those that participated into their lives or into our lives, right? And the funny thing about money is that if you repel it by not doing what your word, what you promised, or what you mentally put together, you'll lose more than the $75 if you don't keep functioning. You understand that?
I do.
And so I could not allow or see myself receiving those funds and then turning around and, journaling kind of swindles off, because the journey of life, according to what you focus on, will either drive you there, will become a vehicle, or you'll crash. I mean, all the things I've gone through since we started the journaling, and even after the journaling, I'm like, no, we can't stop here. This, you know, and I was thinking about, I said, okay, we were doing $75. So really, $5 a day is really longer than you did it. You did it for 7 days, but $75, $5 a day, that gives you more days, right? And so I was saying,
$10 a day. It
huh?
was $10 a day for. It was $10 a day for. It was $10 a day for 7 days plus $5 to buy a journal.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't see it that way. I saw $5 a day and doing it every day past the 7 days. And so now it takes 21 days to produce a habit. And so after we started the 7 days, and I was like, oh no, I can't stop here, because receiving that seed to produce for me in my life and to keep me moving forward, if I stop now, you'll end up losing more than $75. And I was like, no, I can't do that. So let me just text him and say, listen, you've opened the door now, and so we can't just drop out, right? and all the things that it started to manifesting and happening. I was like, no. And then as I began to pray, it's like, don't forget the law of money. Don't forget the seed you sow, you reap. So if you've sown the seed, and on the other side, the recipients of that seed don't keep their word, somewhere in the journey of life, that $75 is going to come back to collect, but it's going to collect in a greater portion. And so I can't afford that. Anybody who is on the line who is in the baby boomer era, like myself, you have so many different stages of life that you go through. I've had so many different uh, things in my life that I've done, been successful in, and then for some reason in life, it changes its course. No matter how you try to stay on that particular course, it changes its course. And for me, I've had several. I mean, anyone on here who's had kids, who didn't have kids, and then they found themselves with kids, that's a whole nother journey. And not only is that another journey, but it takes you, now you've got other lives that you have to put on a track as well. And so life has all these different twists and turns and journeys. And I know that journaling is a part of the journey. It will guide you, it will lead you, it will give you the understanding of whatever it is you didn't understand. Because trust me, every time I write something down, the same day or the very next day, something manifests out of that journey of journaling. Something that I might have put on, okay, I have to do this and this and this, and then I send it over to you. And then once I've done that, something will happen that I didn't put in the journal that now I can put in the next days. But then when you go back, like I always send you and say, this week is going to be um, to keep doing whatever the project was, or to do follow up. So follow up means whatever you didn't get done the week before, you'll get it done this week. Even if it's only one of those things from the previous week, it keeps you moving forward. You can't put it down and then not let it write itself out, because it will manifest. It's been doing it for me, even inside of the trials and tribulations I've been dealing with. It still comes forth, which is amazing to me. And that's why I say, okay, let me say, listen, you have to send me your journal. And we have to keep on time, and we can't be, 4 and 5 days. We have to get our journals in on time. And so I appreciate you for that. And even for the new information. And one other thing, even in the midst of this, I had, his name is Andrew. What is Andrew's last name? Andrew Argue. And he is a CPA that does servicing for small businesses and larger businesses to help them do financial direction for whatever the business wants to do. And so he sent me I've been listening to some of his stuff, and he's right on cue, but he said every consultant, every counselor, even if you're not one, you become one for your business. And once you do that, you need to know how to project to your client, which way to go, what you need to analyze for them, no matter what kind of business it is. And so as I began to listen to him, I said, oh, that's interesting. But I didn't want to do his program right now, because I'm doing my certification for my private lenders. And I didn't want to do that right now. I said, okay, that's extra. Let me just focus on this. And so then he sent me a letter, and he said, you've been listening on my emails and some of my podcasts, as we can see often. And so I want to offer you this $1,000 program for $9. And I'm like, what? Yeah, right. I hope you've heard of upsell. Like they'll get you in the door for $7. And then when you process it and go out, they'll say, oh, wait. Let us show you this. And so you listen to that and they said, okay, you could just add it to cart with your card you've already put in. And then you either click yes or no. And then even after you click yes and you add it to cart, whatever the next sale is, they don't do it. They'll say, oh, wait, let me show you this. And you can get this. So you go from $7 to $195 to $275 and they keep upselling you unless you know how to go in and say, this is what I want. I don't want anything else right now. And no, 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 no. So that's what I had been doing. So he sent me an email and he said, okay, I'm going to send you my CPA um, coaching, and it has all the information in it. I'm going to send it to you for $9. And so I didn't believe it. Of course, I didn't believe it. So I emailed them in return. I said, okay, so you're saying to me that your $1,000 program, you're going to send it to me for $9, NINE, and there's no other monthly charges, no subscription charges, no anything else outside of that, right? And so they responded back. So they said, yeah, exactly. That's all. And then I sent them one email that said a big, all caps, why? And he sent me back a response, and the response was, because you have followed us so long, we want to do something for you to get you in, to get you started, to get you to know the information so that you can add value, more value to your clients. And if you decide to come in later, you're welcome to come in later. And so I said, okay. So I did. And so that's some information I'd like to share with you, Pascal. I mean, out of
Okay.
all the information you blessed so highly blessed us with, uh, Frank Kern and podcast, um, Pat Finn, all the stuff that you've given, plus millions of dollars of the first set of stuff that you sent us is amazing. And so those things are the law of money. So you have to reap, you have to get back what you've sown. And so know that it will manifest as you are requesting because the atmosphere, the Father, the anointing of the land and the air is going to return to you what you've given.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I really do. And whenever you're ready to send it or share it, I'm here to receive it. And that's another thing, you guys, I want to make very clear to you is that lately I have tasked are you finished, Dr. Barber, before I go on
Yes,
running my mouth? Okay, cool.
yes.
And thank you so much for your comments and for sharing. It's very very much appreciated. So I wanted to say to you guys, I've been listening to the version of Think and Grow Rich that I've sent out to all of you all. It's the same book, but it has updated comments in it, right? So the guy who's reading it, because it's a YouTube video, I sent it out to everybody that comes on the call. And so I've been, as I'm doing whatever miscellaneous stuff or laying down before I meditate, I'll listen. And sometimes I listen to it before I go to sleep. So, one of the things that is very, very important that I'm gleaning from this is, it always comes down to our mind, right? So it always comes down to our mind and our thought process. So the wealth that I want to create, and the money that I do create right here, right now, all started with a thought process, period. Nothing more, nothing less. So it started with the thought process, and then subsequently those thought processes became action which created, thought process, action, and then creation. It's just how it works. And so the bigger your thought process, right, the more you expand on what you want, then you will work towards creating it. So it's not like it's going to rain down on you as a rule, because people do win the lottery out of nowhere. But as a rule, it's not going to just rain down on you. And so, all of this stuff goes together, you guys. There is a thing called reciprocity, right? And so, whether you're giving your work, your labor and getting paid for it, or you're giving of your time or your mental thought process, there's what you put out, you're planting the seed. Sometimes the seed seems like they take a long time to grow and give back to you, but it's all about planting that seed. It's all about us learning what we don't know and then subsequently utilizing it. All right, so you have the thought process. I want to be a marketer. I want to build this business. Well, then you know what? What is it that you need to do that stuff? So the money part should be the least of the problems for the people on this phone call, because I tell you all of the time, how simple it is to get money. And if your credit is screwed up, find someone who has good or decent credit and team up with them. Share your idea with them. And if your idea has merit and value to them, then there's a great chance that they're going to participate with you. Once you incorporate, everybody on this call should know how to incorporate themselves. And if you don't, it's a simple process. Go to your Secretary of State's website. That's it. Look for how to incorporate, fill out the form, send it into your Secretary of State. It'll cost you, in most states except for like Texas, it'll cost you around $100. If you paid somebody like me, it's going to cost you $700. In Texas, it's $300. So, the thing is the cost factor is nominal, right? We spend that on a couple of meals or Starbucks or doing some other ridiculous stuff. Get yourself incorporated within your state. If you have a plan of action, go ahead, find someone. If your credit's crappy, find someone who would want to, they don't even have to have money. That's the magic, right? They don't have to have money to invest. If they have credit, they can be a credit partner. And so all you have to do is what? You take your corporation. You can even make them an officer in the corporation. It means literally nothing. It just doesn't mean anything. It's who owns the shares controls the corporation, right? So you make them an officer in your corporation, and if you can find 5 people or 10 people or whatever the case may be that you can involve in your business, and then just simply say, okay, well look, we're going to go and apply for this business line of credit card. And where can you find business lines of credit cards? Go to creditcards.com. You go to creditcards.com. You put in business line of credit cards, business credit cards. Boom, a whole list of places are going to show up. And then the other thing to think about is virtually every major airline partners with one credit card company or another. Sam's Club does, Costco does. In co-cards, co meaning that 2 different entities are together. So Costco, and it might be with Citibank or whoever they're with right now. So the point is that those co-cards, co-business cards, tend to be relatively easy to get. People are sleeping on mid-sized and regional banks. I don't know what's up with that, but people they give money. Okay, we have someone who does killer dollars for their client. with a little bank that's only in a few states. But for those little banks, those mid-sized banks or regional banks, they want to do business with you, because if they're not lending, then they're not in business, right? That's how they create their monies. So they want to lend to you. So there's so much money out here, flip the script in your head. I mean, drive around your area, just drive around your city and look around. Look at all the money that's being spent on construction, on this, on that. Go to your mall, see people. Get out of that mindset of oh, there's lack, because that lack thing is complete utter bullshit. There's no such thing as lack. The people are constantly coming up. I don't give a crap what people say on the news. Oh, we're going into a depression. Okay, well then if we are going to a depression, then the people that know how to buy the various things that work in a depression, like people will, we're going into a depression, so they buy it could be anything, but let's just say they buy a shitload of gold and silver and whatever, because as a rule of thumb, those things rise dramatically in the times of depression and Great Recession. So, obviously, if those things are going up in value and then you're able to sell them, that means there's money out there. It's just what's being put upon the general public to understand or believe in some, form of lack. But if you notice constantly throughout history, it's always been the wealthiest of the wealthy that get wealthier during times of depression. Why is that? If times are so hard, how are they getting so much richer during times of depression? Does that make sense? I mean, it's kind of an oxymoron, right? It doesn't work. You would think. How are people getting, wealthier? The Hilton, the Conrad Hilton, the old man, that empire started, during the Great Depression. I mean, he went out and bought a raggedy ass building, and then bought it was an old hotel, and then bought another one, and then so on and so forth. Now you have the Hilton chain, which is a global chain, right? Got wealthy during times of lack, during times of supposed lack, right? So my point is that, we have to change our mindset, create our 2.0 us. It's there. Get your money now. Stop waiting. Stop. Well, I'm gonna. No, screw that. And let's just get busy, y'all. Let's get this party started, as they say. All right? There's the money there. I've just told you very clearly how you can go out and get some money if you don't have a dime. If your credit's screwed up, I just told you very clearly. Find someone with good credit. They don't have to have a dime to their name. Find someone with no credit, and if you have a couple of dollars, you can help them build their credit by going out, getting things on their credit, primaries on their credit, like My Jewelers Club, maybe adding a couple of authorized user accounts if you got a couple of dollars to do that, adding Rent Tracks, Rent Reporter, Credit Karma, there's a host of them out there. I've sent out that information to you guys. There's a host of primaries that you guys can get on, and if somebody has like no credit, you build their credit, you get that 700 plus FICO score, you get some AUs on there to give them a little history, and then you start checking with the different institutions. And I'm going to tell you something else that you guys should know, because we've said this in past conversations. A lot of institutions won't even do a hard pull on your credit file until after you're approved, right? So, like for me, I'd gotten a Wells Fargo business line of credit card. They do a soft pull first, and you can check with what institutions will do that for you. They'll do a run through your credit. It's a soft pull basically, and you don't have that hard inquiry unless you get approved. So, I mean, what else can you? I'm giving you the gold. I'm telling you what you can do. Obviously, it's I can't do it for you. You have to do it because you're not paying me. That's why. I'll just tell you the truth. You're not paying me, so I'm not going to do it for you. I'm not going to, coach you through it, but I've given you all that you need to make it happen. If you don't have credit, find somebody with credit. If you can't find somebody with credit, find someone with no credit and build out their credit file over the next 3 to 6 months, and then go get the money you want. Right? So there are tens of hundreds of ways to get money, meaning that there are tens of hundreds of banks, or thousands of banks, I should say, out there that are willing to give you money. Right? There are places that are willing to give people with marginal credit money. Take that money, apply it to your objective, to your goal, to your dream. Don't go screw the money off, and start making money with that money that you're borrowing. Right? That's it. There's no magic to none of this stuff, you guys. There's no magic to it. I just gave you information that you had or just maybe not had enough of or whatever, but I just gave you the gold. It's nothing to this stuff. Obviously, when you pay me for my services, you get my hands-on coaching and that of my team, but you can go do this. There's a wealth of information out there. Take it upon yourself to go learn it. Anybody else have anything else to say? Because it is 10:07, and I have given away enough good information for everybody on this call to go make some really good things happen for yourself. So anybody have anything to say? Going once? Going twice?
I absolutely believe in it. It works. He's not going all out preaching to the bands, guys. Do it, do it, do it. And it's get it time.
Absolute.
Pascal.
Yes,
Pascal,
yes.
Yeah. Hey, listen, there is something that I really like it.
Okay.
I believe, I'm a firm believer of this. I mean, before you even start, you have to have a plan, actually. You have to know what you want. But once you have that plan, you have to put it into action, right? All those things are basic, and anybody repeat that over and over and over and over. But there's something that I noticed that people lack of it, and that's not repeated. And what it is just people need to know how to be respectful. Like the way you respect another human being, the way you treat a lot of time animals like dogs or any pet that you have, you treat it with care and compassion. But a lot of time, and I noticed maybe 99.9, they don't have no respect for the money. And that's one of the reasons why people fail when they want to do like an enterprise. They want to become successful. They don't respect the money at all. They just, when they receive it, I mean, everything you have said is just right on the spot. But once they get it, they get crazy, and they don't respect the money, and they completely forgot what they got the money for, and they don't stick to that. So what do? They just disappear the money and ended up worse than when they first started. So maybe for your next topic, it would be great if you can let us all know. I mean, everybody here who listen to your all this conversation that you have, what do we need to do to respect money? And I think a lot of people are gonna be successful.
Well, let me say to you that you're absolutely right. It is the respect of your finances, and I can tell everybody on this call that I have screwed off so much money it's not even funny. Literally, just ridiculous amounts of money because I had no respect for it whatsoever, and
can I add to that?
I'm a working farmer. Go ahead, please.
You're not alone. I totally agree. I'm on that same train ride. Wasted tons and tons of money. And I would say the reality check for me was the process of learning to respect myself. Until I learned to respect Talandra, then everything kind of fell on the wayside. Just not the money part of it, but just life in general. So when I reversed I say to Pascal all the time, you got to get rid of that stinking thinking. When I got rid of the stinking thinking, because usually that's the reason why you don't have respect for the money. And then a lot of times you're not brought up in some of the environments you grow up in. You're not taught how to manage money. So when you're being disrespectful, period, on every level, that's usually how that trickles down in that process. So I think to repair that issue, you have to start with respect for yourself first, and then everything else will fall in its place because you'll respect everything.
I agree.
Absolutely.
And you won't take for granted moving forward. You just won't take anything for granted. And you'll be respectful with everything, and then what you put out is what you'll receive in return.
Right.
Gotta learn to respect. And yourself first. Okay, that's all.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Somebody else was saying something?
This is Dr. Barbara again.
Hey.
There's a timing for buying things as well, because I noticed that my husband wanted to buy an air conditioner in the wintertime. And the colder it is, and whatever climate you're in, they're least expensive the colder it is. Just like in the summertime, he's a coat and sweater person. He wants to get the coats and sweaters in the summertime. And the hotter it is, the less expensive it is. And I started learning and understanding, there's a seasonal time for buying things. Like there's a seasonal time that the banks open up and give you credit or give you loans or whatever, like coming close to Christmas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They'll double down on giving you whatever it is you want around into October, November, and even into December. You get all of this money that they have laid up, and so they try to get you to fall in debt for the new year. But if you're wise, because the Bible talks about being in a group will give you wise counsel. So I look at our group as wise counsel, because everybody has something of value to add, no matter how little it is, no matter how big it is, no matter how minute they may think it is. It's huge to the other person that didn't know it. And so I said that to say that you were talking about trends and how rich people are doing things. They're getting their money when the doors are open for the money. They actually put it down as a timing to do it. And you buy things for timing. You don't just buy things because they're on sale.
You break up again, Dr. B.
So, yeah, he's a salesman, so he when it comes up, he's like, "Oh, honey, this is on sale." I said, "I ain't timing," because he talked the timing, and it's like he gave me the timing.
Okay. I was just saying you're a bit choppy there for a minute.
Okay, he gave.
Okay, I think we lost. You're extremely choppy right now.
Okay, it's okay. I'm good.
It's all love. It's all love. It's all love. So that was Franco earlier that was speaking, and because I don't think he said his name, but I'm gonna say this. Franco is right. It's like everything you have to your energy level, your level of respect. Talandra was saying the same thing. It's all about the energy that we put out will be the energy we get back. So that level of respect for ourselves is literal energy, right? it's levels of energy, self-empowerment. And when you feel good about yourself, it will make you better in so many aspects, right? Of your, when you respect yourself, you love yourself, it will make you better in so many aspects of your existence. So Franco, on point. Talandra, on point. It's just important, you guys. And for the rest of the people that don't ever speak on this call, for whatever reason, you know, I sent out and this is Pascal's, not anybody else's, but it's Pascal's 13 rules to live by. And it's, you know, one of the major rules is you got to love yourself, because I will tell you, one of the reasons I was screwing off so much money, I believe, is because I was trying to impress other people and make them happy, as opposed to just loving myself enough to know that I don't have to make them happy, and if they choose not to be around me, then so what? And it literally comes down, or at least for Pascal, that's what it came down to. You know, I remember, you know, I had refinanced one of my properties back in the day. They gave me like $75,000 or $76,000 on this particular property, and that money went in like 6 months or less, right? And what was so funny about that was that the money went, and it didn't even have any place to go, right? It's like all my bills were met, all my stuff was taken care of, you know. I mean, I was generating capital. So, but when I got that money, it just stood out to me that $75,000. But I got that money. I remember we went to a family reunion in Atlanta, and I remember buying everybody in the hotel bar, which was 90% my family. You know, basically I was buying the bar, you know, because I was just in this, you know, big Willie phase or whatever ignorance I was in, and I really believe it had a lot to do with feeling a certain way. You know what I'm saying? And you know, wanting to impress people that I didn't need to impress. It didn't matter what they thought or felt. It really didn't matter. It should not have mattered, but for some reason it did. And so that's how my money would go, is because I would spend it trying to do for other people. And I believe in my heart, my soul, my gut, my everything, that it had to do with feeling lack in myself. So even though I'd walk around with this air of confidence and so on and so forth, mentally, right, somewhere in the back of my brain there, I was not loving myself enough. Because if I had, I would have loved myself enough not to have been spending money like that. I would have loved myself enough to know that having control of my finances for the rest of my existence, and for, you know, so I could benefit myself first, and then subsequently, by benefiting myself, be able to provide for my child and my wife and all that other shit over the long term, would have made a lot more sense. Does that make sense to you guys? You know, so everybody's different. I'm not putting this on anybody else. I'm just telling you Pascal's journey. So I literally screwed off a shitload of money, and I ultimately believe it had to do with, you know, really just not respecting myself, not loving myself, not caring enough about myself, and then subsequently my future, which allowed me to spend, you know, literally probably $10,000 on a very short vacation in Georgia, right? So it just, and the money will just go. It will leave you if you got to love yourself. You got to respect yourself. And then subsequently those individuals around you, you got to respect people. And just like any other aspect of our existence, like when my wife and I are walking at the park, I make it a point to say hi to most everybody. And I give you a couple of chances. If you don't say hi back, then I'm like, oh, screw you. Right. And I used to, like do it in like a really kind of foul way. But now I just, to myself, I'm like, you know what? That's not what works for them. So, I had to back up off of that, oh, you're not trying to disrespect me? You know what I mean? That stupid stuff, right? Because I'd get upset. I'd be like, I said hi this month, and then I'd say hi back, asshole, and I just had to get over that. I had to get over myself because ultimately that had nothing to do with them and had everything to do with me. Do you guys get that? It has everything to do with you, not the other person. Continue putting out your positive energy, your love, your whatever, but it has to start within you, your core, your everything. You have to love yourself to understand that you don't have to be anything extra to anybody else. And if they don't return your love and your affection and the energy and the positivity you're giving out, then that person's not for you. Move on, right? Don't be upset with them. Move on. They're not for you.
Even
right?
if
And that's how we cover our money. I'm sorry?
All your life, or they've been in your life for years and years and years. Don't obligate yourself.
I can't really hear you. I can't hear you very clearly.
I said,
I'm
even
sorry.
if you've been in that person's life 20, 30 years, sometimes it's time to cut them off. If they're
Absolutely.
not on your same positive path and your positive movement, it doesn't matter. Let them go. Let them free, is what I say.
Absolutely. Whoever that is, you didn't say your name, but that is the truth. It doesn't matter the length of time. I'm sorry?
It was Talandra.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, son. That is the truth. It doesn't matter the length of time. You got to love yourself more than anyone else, and that's just my opinion, right? Because you cannot truly love yourself if you're taking abuse from anyone else. You can't truly love yourself if you're putting, someone else before you. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. You got to give up from your overflow, not from your level, right? It has to be from your overflow and everything, and that's how you are going to truly achieve the success and the happiness. Because I'm just going to say to you, a whole bunch of money without being happy don't mean a damn thing, right? If you're miserable and you're rich, I don't know. I don't want to be miserable and rich. There are people out there that are crazy rich and crazy miserable. I don't want to be that person. I want to have it all because I know that I'm entitled to everything. I believe that. And I think that everybody on this call, and then everybody who listens to this recording, anybody in the world is entitled to everything that you want and desire, right? If you're willing to put the work in for it. And you're entitled to it regardless. But you will manifest and create it when you put your mind to it, and then subsequently put the work towards it, and to create that life that you so desire, right? But it all starts with respecting yourself and loving yourself first and foremost. If you don't love and respect yourself, then you're going to spend your money foolishly, because you're constantly trying to buy love and respect from other people with your money, as opposed to knowing that you know that you are more than enough exactly where you are right here, right now.
Exactly. I'm going to add, and if they're not on board, let them go. Let them free.
Let them go.
Is the term I use. Let them free. Everybody likes free, so let them plug in on that.
I'm gonna use that myself and let them free. I'm gonna use that myself. Does anybody
So
else
have the
have
free
anything they
will to
want
move
to
on.
add? Exactly. Does anybody have anything they want to add before we get off the call, y'all? Okay. Well, we're over time. We are an hour and 26 minutes into this call. Once again, thank you all so very much for giving of yourself, giving of your time. You know, our objective here on Power Mondays Mastermind, is that, you know, we're a community, we are a tribe, right? We are each other, and we are we are going to help one another grow and to become whatever it is that we so desire, right? Because your desire and your goals are different than mine. So that's what this is all about, is creating that energy that helps, right? Because you got to do it yourself, but we want to create the energy that allows you to grow. Somebody saying something? Okay. Well, apparently somebody wanted to say something, but they didn't get it out. So, listen, you guys, thank you so much. And as always, you know, I wish everybody health, happiness, and prosperity. Take care. Talk to you guys next time.